So here are my Google Slides, and I'm just going to tell you that what I'm going to do is I'm not going to put it in present mode. Let me show you the difference. Present mode just shows you the whole slide, and I know it's bigger. I get that. It's a little, and honestly, it's only a little bit bigger. But I'm not going to do it like that today. I'm actually going to run through the slides within slides, not on present mode. So just so you know, to get in and out of present mode, I clicked on present in the upper right-hand corner. To get into present mode to get out, I just hit the escape key on my keyboard. Okay, so that's how you get in and out of present mode. So we have a lot of things to go over today. And honestly, just like when, we talked about Excel and we were talking about, you kind of have to think a little differently when you use Excel. You have to think a little differently when you use Google Slides too. But let me go over the basics. Remember that there's a waffle. The waffle is available on the usually on any kind of Google page. And from there, you can go to different Google apps. There is the kebab or the hamburger. That's other options, right? Other menus. So if you're looking for something and you can't see it, right click on something. Also, that's the other thing you can do. Look for that or look for the kebab or the hamburger. Just so you know, those folks who are putting your names in here, we don't even look at that later. We don't take any sort of role for this. So that should actually be done through your department. Those of you who are paraprofessionals, you don't even have to put in your name and where you are or anything like that, because we don't even look at that. Anyway, so there's a question mark on many of the Google apps, and you can use that to get help. Remember, it's not a real live person, right? You're just going to be taken to a website. But let me tell you, the Google help is really helpful. You can also use it to send feedback to Google. And then the gear is really universal through all kinds of applications. So if you're looking for settings, that's usually where you're going to go. Now, I want to share with you, and this is especially true with Google Slides, there are multiple ways to do things in Google Slides. There are multiple ways to do things in Google Docs, multiple ways to do a lot of things in Google. Okay. I'm going to show you the way that I do it. My way may not be the fastest way for you. I suggest you go check that out. See if there's another way to do it. Also, right clicking is a great way to find other options. And don't worry if you don't have a waffle, because what happened when Google made all of these really wonderful applications is they also use the URL .google.com. So if you want to go to slides, you can just go to slides.google.com. If you want to go to docs, you go to docs.google.com. If you want to go to drive, you go to drive.google.com. So if you don't have a waffle, don't worry, because you can still get there. You can also just Google it, right, to find it. It's not that it's not there anymore. And the same goes with Classroom. Okay, so a lot of times during these basics classes, we give you like a little tour of the screen. I'm not going to do that today. I'm just not. But I'm going to tell you why. It's because docs, sheets, slides, and forms, they have very similar functions. By now, we've gone through, all of those except for slides. We've gone through docs, we've gone through sheets, we've gone through forms. We just haven't gone through slides. A lot of the things that you do, you can do in docs. You can also do in slides. There are some very specific things in slides as well, but you're going to look at the screen, and this is a screen. I know it looks different, but not really. And I'll tell you why, because this would be like where your doc was, right? Where the slide is. And then up here, there are a lot of similar, very, very similar tools on the toolbar. Also, I'm not going to go through that because it depends on what you're working with on slides. If you're working with a text box, your toolbar is going to look different than if you're working with an image. So I didn't want to confuse you by showing all these different, toolbars. I will be talking about specific ones in just a little bit, but just remember that a lot of the things that you do in docs, you can also do in slides. And I also have the link here for the Google Docs slide deck. And, if you need to go through those things again. So slides, I also call it, the right tool for the job. For those of you who were in Docs Next Steps or have watched that video, this is the exact same slide. I'm just using it again. But I want to talk about the difference between docs and slides. I had a little bit of a rough time with getting together all the information that I gave you for the next steps in docs because I don't use docs all that often. I'm now using slides almost 100% of the time. Why is that? Well, docs are really great for those of you who are staff who are, managers or secretaries or anything like that. Docs are really great for straightforward and official documents. They're great for that. Really great. Great for agenda. Great. Meeting minutes. Okay, like those official kinds of things, right? But it's also two-dimensional. Let me explain that. That means that it's like I have a piece of paper and I put something on there on that doc. And let's say I want to put a picture in there. So I put the picture in and it moves all my words over, right? That's what I mean by 2D because it's really flat. And if I put one thing here, it's going to move over whatever was already there. Okay. You can't layer things one on top of the other like you can with Google Slides. And that's really why I like Google Slides is that I can layer things, right? Also, it's slide decks. So I can say, I want this information on one, I want this information on two. Oftentimes, I will take a Google slide and I will make it 8.5 by 11, like a piece of paper. But what I like about slides then is that I can actually really control what goes on page one, what goes on page two, what goes on page three. That's a lot harder in Google Docs. Also, I like Google Slides because I can add other elements such as video, right? Google Slides is great for teaching. I mean, as you can see, I've used it this whole entire time, right? It's a great tool. It's also, like I said, 3D. You can layer things on top of each other. And I'll talk about how to do that just a little bit. Right here, just so you know, this link here will take you to how to, and this of course isn't going to work right now. There we go. How to change the size of your slides so that it could be like an 8.5 by 11 size piece of paper. So this is basically just the instructions. You go to page setup, you change it to 8.5 by 11. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. All right, so, and just so you know, this on the left that I'm using to click around on, this is called the slide navigation pane. That becomes really important in a little bit. So this is really important. And what's great too, I can see what's coming up, right? Okay, so with slides, there are things called themes and layouts. So very simply is that themes go onto a theme. If you pick a theme, that's for your whole slide deck. And themes have different layouts. So I'm going to go into our example because I don't want to mess with this one here because it's one of those things that you don't necessarily want to, mess with it after. This is probably something that you want, especially a theme. You kind of want to pick it early on. Okay. You don't want to like get all your stuff in there and then change the theme. So I just want to let you know that when you click on that link, when you go in there later, is that it's going to force you to make a copy. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and make a copy. And there's not much in this. This is just basically something for you to play with. But so I do tell you here, this is what you will do, right? You click on a theme and you can look at the different themes. So oftentimes when you open up a brand new Google Slides, it opens up themes immediately on the right. So I'm going to wait a second because I think it's still going to open up. If it doesn't open up, there's a button right here that says theme, right? You just click on that. Now, I don't know if it's going to open up, but I'm going to click on it anyway. There we go. So here are the themes. So they have several themes that you can choose from. I'm going to give you a bit of advice. And my advice is you want to stick with either simple light or simple dark. Okay. I mean, just because it's a plain background, you either pick white or you pick black, because when you start getting fancy with this stuff, you don't actually want a set up background. Okay. Also, I find that when you're actually presenting in real life with real people in the room with you, and you are showing the presentation using a projector, it's best to stick with simple. white, or black. Gray is okay too, but then gray can be a whole bunch of different colors. And if there are things that you need to do with that gray, it could get really confusing. So I suggest sticking with white or black. Very simple. So I just clicked on theme and watch what happens as I click through these. Let me pick one that's a little more obnoxious. Let me pick the orange one. This one's called Swiss. I don't know why. I don't know why it's called Swiss. Makes no sense. Okay, so there it is. So what it did you see what it did? It moved my words around, right? Because it has different layouts. So this is the layout for the title page for Swiss. I can go back and it'll move it back, I hope. Let's see. Yeah, it moves it back. Okay. So I can pick any of these themes. Let's see what this one looks like. I mean, but this is why I'm saying you need to do this first. Pick it first and pick one of the simple ones. I'm going to go back. But I want to show you very quickly, like with layout, if you click on layout, what drops down is a big list. And this list will show you, right, all the different layouts. It doesn't matter really. I mean, you can pick a layout as long as it has the things that you want in it, right? So for instance, I'm going to go ahead and change the layout of this blank slide. So it's blank right now, and I'm going to change it to this, right? So I can see here that it has a text box, it has a title box, and it has a subtitle box. Guess what? It doesn't matter. You can change the font. You can change the color of the font. You can change whether or not it's italics. This is just really, really basic. I don't mess with layouts very often. I like to kind of make my own as I go. So, but it just depends on how you're using this, right? So that's, in a nutshell, that is themes and layouts. I'm gonna go back here. That's not where I was. Okay. Oh yeah, it was where I was. Never mind. Okay, so on this slide about themes and layouts, I talk a little bit more about, difference between themes and layouts. I really suggest that you stick with simple stuff. In Darcy's sessions, she's talking about using, themes that you can get from other websites where they're very cool designy people that do really cool designy things for free, and you can download those and use those. The one that we always use with this lovely little bar down at the bottom that's different colors, and it uses a certain font. We actually got this one from and you can see it here, slidesmania.com. You can just go ahead and go on there, and they have all these lovely slides for you, right? They just don't have the content, but they have all the lovely formats. So that's what we use on this one. Darcy's going to be talking a little bit more about that in her session. So let me move on. Okay, so with slides, you can add, you can copy, you can delete, you can organize slides. You want to do all of this from here, right? This is that navigation over here. This is the slide navigation pane. Okay. What's great about this is it's very easy to add a slide. Now, I'm not going to do that in here because, like I said, there are some things that I'm not going to do in here. I'm just going to go back to my examples. So let me show you how to add a slide really quickly. So there's a fast way and there's a targeted way. Let's say that, oh, I like this slide that I have right here. Okay. And I just want to add another slide, right? That looks just like that. So I'm trying to remember what it is. Oh, right click and yeah, new slide. Okay. So if I right click on it and then I click on new slide, it's going to give me a duplicate of the slide that I had chosen. Okay. Now, if I don't like that layout and I want to be a little fancier, and you can move slides and you can put slides in between, I'm going to click right in between 3 and 4. Okay, I get a line. And now I'm going to go up to this plus sign here. Now, if I hit the plus sign, I'm just going to get a duplicate again. But I want to pick the layout of this new one. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to pick a different layout. Okay. So now I have this one, and right after it, I have this one. Great. Okay. Duplicating slides is pretty much about the same thing. I can right click on a slide and I can just click on duplicate slide. Really simple. That's it. I've got a duplicate now, right? Of the exact same one up here. Now to delete slides, there are a couple different things you can do. What I like to do is I click on the slide I want to delete. So I'll delete this one. I click on the slide that I want to delete and I just hit delete on my keyboard. And now it's gone. Okay. I can also right click and click on delete. Now it's gone. Okay. So that's adding and deleting and duplicating. Now organizing. This is actually pretty cool. If I have, for instance, many slides like I do in our actual slide deck, or any at all, I can just go ahead and click and drag them around. So if I decide that I actually want this click on theme to go at the very bottom at the end, I can just click on it and move it down. It says move one slide. Okay. There we go. Right? I can move it back up too if I want. So I'm just clicking and dragging it. So a quick reminder about selecting, and I think we talked about this with sheets. If you, let's say I want to select all 3 of these because I want to do something with them, duplicate them, delete them, whatever it is. So I can click on the top one, hold down the shift key, click on the last one because I want to select all of them, and it selects all of them. If I want to skip, I click on one, hold down control, click on the other one that I want. Now, why do I want to do that? Maybe I want to move these together and I want to move these to the end. So if I click and move them to the end, then they both go at the end. So that, again, this is a lot of this stuff is stuff that you have to play with. I see you all like watching very intently and taking notes, but a lot of this is you just have to get in there and play with it, right? You open up a slide deck, you just mess with it. Make a bunch of slides, move them around, just give it a try. Okay, so that's organizing slides. I talked about deleting, I talked about copying, duplicating. You can also copy pieces of a slide and put them on another slide, right? And it's the same thing with selection. So for instance, I'll give you an example. I want to select this one here, right? This here, and I want to select this yellow box here. So I select this one and I'm going to hold down control and select this one. And now you can see, you can barely see it, but there's a big box drawn around them, but you see like darker lines around them. You can barely see it, right? Now at this point, I can right click or do Control C to copy and then go to a different slide and paste it, right? So that's kind of the targeted way where you can copy certain elements of a slide. Because remember, so I want to show you that everything here is separate. This is a box. Okay. This is a box. 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 That's how they're different colors, right? This is its own thing because it's an image. This is its own thing because it's an image. And this is its own thing because it's an image. So you really have to think in terms of pieces, right? And again, it's 3D, so you can layer things on top of the other. All right, so next one. All right, inserting text boxes. This is important because that's most of the stuff you're going to be doing is inserting a text box. So I'm going to go into the example slides. I'm just going to go into a blank. I'm going to go ahead and delete these. Oh, here's another way that you can select a bunch of things together is I'm just going to click here in this empty spot and drag a box over all of these, or I can also do it in some of these. I'll do some of these, just these two, and they're blue, and I can go ahead and hit delete, and that deletes them. So that's an easy way too, where you don't have to go click everything and delete it, right? Instead, you can just draw the box around them. It's like a lasso. It's like a magic lasso. I think some companies call it a magic lasso. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in a text box because I want to show you what happens. So I click on the T up here in the box, and now I get the crosshairs, and I'm going to go ahead and just draw out my box. Okay. Now I can go ahead and start typing. Fine, that's great. But I want to show you this. Oops, what happened? I got rid of it. Undo, Control Z. Is it back? Got rid of it. That was weird. Okay, I'll try again. Click again. Here it is. Here's my text box. I want to show you this button here, this resize shape to fit text. This is something that's pretty new, okay? And what it does is I can go ahead and type away in here. And right now, this shape is going to get bigger as I type, okay? But if I pick this other one, shrink text on overflow, that means that I draw the box exactly the size I want it to be. I am not going to change it. That is the size I want it to be. And that means then that the font, the writing inside will change size. So it will fit in the box. So let me show you what that looks like. So if I click here and I make this a little smaller, and I'm going to make this pretty big. Make it 24. I'm going to make the box smaller. Now, it didn't work. I don't know why not. What did I have it? Oh, I have it on do not auto fit. That's interesting. So I'm going to click it to shrink. So it shrunk it so it fits in that box. Why is this important? Because you might want to create a slide that only has a very small space for it, and you don't want to have to go back and change it. So we'll do it for you automatically. That's actually a total game changer. Super helpful. I love it. That's actually a really great thing to be able to use. So while I'm here, I'm going to be talking about formatting text as well. So the format is very similar, right? Formatting is super similar to the way it is in Docs. So as you notice, I'm in a text box right now, and up here, I get all of these buttons. If I click off of this text box, look what happens, right? Now I don't have all those buttons because I'm not in a text box. So I'm not going to use those. I wouldn't be using those buttons if I'm not in a text box. So I'm going to click on my text box again. So this is where I can go ahead and make changes to my formatting. Now, there's a couple ways. This is something really, really important. If I don't have anything selected and I want this whole sentence to be bold and I hit bold, it did it in this case because I have the entire box selected. Now, in case you don't know, let's just say that I have my cursor in here and I hit bold. It's not going to make all that stuff bold. So remember, sometimes you're going to have to remember to select either the entire box if you want the whole thing to be bold, or you have to select the words that you want to make bold after you've typed them. Now, if I start typing, it will be bold, right? So now it's bold, but that's only because I hit the bold button. So you have to remember, right? It's sort of like you got to do things in a certain order. I personally like to put all of my stuff in, all my words in, and then I go in and mess with the formatting, right? I can also highlight things, right? Actual highlighting, not selecting. There's a highlighter button up here. So I can select the word example, click on highlight, pick a color, of course, classic yellow. Now it's highlighted. By the way, you can there's ways to highlight in a Gmail as well. So you can do this in Gmail as well. If I select this word and I hit underline, I can change the underline, right? Also with this, I can change the color of the font to be blue, right? So there are a lot of different things that you can do. Again, same thing as if you're using these things in Docs. So you see where my cursor is right now? If I hit, I want to show you what this does. This is decrease the indent, and this is increase the indent. So if I want to indent this entire thing, the next whole paragraph that I write, but I want it to be the whole thing is in further, I hit this increase indent. And as I start typing, oh, hello, there we go. Oh, so see what it does is it actually keeps with that indent the whole way. Of course, if you just want to indent the first line of a paragraph, you just hit tab, right? You don't have to do the 5 spaces. You can just hit tab and that will indent the right amount. Okay, so there's that. Next, I think I went through this. I went through all of this. I talk more about this. Let me show you numbered cells. This actually, I'm not going to because it's the same as in docs, right? Where you have a numbered list and you have a bulleted list. You can change what the bullets look like. You can change what the numbers look like. You can change if you want to do like a full outline order, you can do that as well. All right. Okay, now this is the fun part. Great. I've told you all the doc stuff. Boring. This is more fun. This is like images, right? Talking about how you put in pictures, how you put in videos, all of those things. These are non-text elements officially. This is what they're called. So I'm going to talk about, I have told you exactly how I put in a picture, and I'm going to show you how I do that. Because there are a couple of different ways to do this, but I'm going to show you what I think is the best way because I'm very picky about my images. I know exactly what I want. Okay. So I'm going to go into our example and I'm going to show you what I do. So what I do is I go to Google to look for my images. So Google, if I just open a new tab, I get Google. Great. So I'm going to put in here Google Slides logo. Okay, that's what I want to look for. I hit enter. And what I'm going to get is I'm going to get a combination of images and all this other stuff here. What I like to do at this point is right at the top here, I click on images. So I'm just going to be looking at images. Okay. So I want to find an image that has a transparent background. Why? Because I want to be able to label, I want to be able to put it on top of things. If I pick something that doesn't have a transparent background, it's going to have like a white box around it, right? All the time that's attached to it. I don't want that. I want it to be totally transparent. And I talk about this in the slide that I have, but I'm going to go ahead and click on tools. A lot of people don't know about this. Let me show you. Let me get a little closer. I'm going to click on tools. And what happens when I do that is I get all these things here, which is really cool. I can pick the size. So let's say it's going to be like on the title slide of my slide deck. So I want it to be big and I don't want it to be pixelated. So I pick large. And then if I want it to be transparent, this is the key. I click on color. Come on. It's always slower when I'm on Zoom. Okay. Come on. Color. And I choose transparent. So it's going to change here, down here. Yay. Okay. So here are some that I can choose from. I don't know why shoes are here. Oh, slides. I get it. Never mind. Not Google Slides, but slides. Okay. I like this one the best. I'm going to click on it and it's going to show up over here. Wow, that's nice and big. And what I'm looking for is this gray and white checkerboard behind it because that tells me that's transparent. I'm going to warn you, that is not always true. And I've had people tell me that they're like, oh no, don't go that way. That's a really long way to get a transparent background. Just put in transparent logo that doesn't always work for me. Okay. If you want to be sure that it's transparent, you go through the same way that I just did. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to right click on this. Just right click, and I'm going to copy the image. Now remember, copy and paste. When you hit copy, you just have to believe that it's there. Okay, so I'm going to click on copy image. Now I'm going to go back to my example. I'm going to right click. I'm going to click on paste. Let's see what happens. Boom. There it is. How do I know that it's transparent? Because I can see the writing behind it, right? This box is actually showing me what the whole entire image is. Okay. So it's important to understand that this is truly transparent. As I move it over, right? You see, still transparent. That's a trick. And I'm going to tell you, it drives me crazy when people are professionals and they are creating these slide decks and they don't have transparent backgrounds. Honestly, my heart cries a little bit because it makes me crazy. I don't like seeing that kind of stuff. I just think it looks a lot better, a lot more professional. So that's how and this is an example. This is a transparent image. How do I know? I can see the arrow here, right? If I move this around, you can still see the stuff behind it. That's a transparent image. Or I'm sorry, it's an image with a transparent background. Let's move this back over. I like to pick the strangest Bitmojis of myself. So that one cracked me up. I saw that. I was like, that's perfect. Okay. So that's basically how to put in an image with a transparent background. If you don't care, if you just have a plain white slide and you're just putting, an image on there with a white background, okay, fine. Because you're not gonna be able to see it. I mean, you're not gonna be able to see that background anyway if it's on a white background. Okay. Lines and shapes. This is really fun, but I'm going to show you a couple of tricks. I'm going to go here. I'm going to change the layout of this slide. And the way that I do that is I can click here for layout, or I can click, that's to add it. I'm sorry. I can click here for layout and click on blank. And now I have a blank slide again. So I'm going to show you a couple of things about shapes. If I click up here to get a shape, first of all, there are a bunch of different shapes. For each one of these, there are a bunch of different ones. So if I go to shapes, look at all these different shapes there are. There's even a lightning bolt. Okay. I did a fun little project with first graders and showed them these shapes and had them draw a picture. You would not believe how incredibly creative these kids are with these shapes. Okay, it's a lot of shapes, but they're so incredibly creative. There are a lot of different arrows. There are a lot of different call outs. There are a few for equations, right? This is a lot. So I'm just going to go to shapes and I'm going to do the lightning bolt because why not? Wherever you start clicking, right? First of all, I get the crosshairs, but wherever I start clicking, that's the upper left-hand corner. Okay, just have to remember that. So I'm going to click and I'm going to drag. There it is, my lightning bolt. Default always makes it gray, always gives it a black outline. Always. It doesn't matter what shape I draw. Now, at this point, I can go ahead and resize it just by using these. I make it smaller. I can make it fatter or stranger. That did not look good. I'll pull it back up again. Okay. So this is resizing, and I'm going to talk a little more about resizing in a minute, but so I can resize it. One trick I want to show you is, let's say you want to draw a perfect square. Well, there's no square here. There's no square for a choice, but there's rectangle. Now, of course, a square is a rectangle with all of its sides being the same length. So I'm going to click on rectangle, and this is the trick. You ready? I'm going to hold down the shift key before I start drawing. I'm going to hold down the shift key, and now I'm going to start drawing. It's a square. Works the same with circle. If I go back up here again and look at the shapes and I go, this looks like a circle, right? But if I just go and just try to draw it as a circle, I really have to eyeball it. That's pretty good. I don't think it's a perfect circle. If I want it to be a perfect circle, I'm going to hold down the shift key. That's a perfect circle. If I move this over, you can see how it's different, right? You can I did an okay job, but I had to work at it. right? So this actually makes it so I don't have to work at it. I just make it the size I want, right? Let's see. Let me talk really quickly about changing the color, right? I'm going to work on the square. So you use the bucket, the paint bucket tool. If I click here, fill color, and I'm going to pick this lovely green, it changes the color of the square. If I want to change, because as you can see, it has a black outline, I actually don't want an outline. I can click on the square, click on this right here, which is right next to the fill color. It says border color. Click here, and I can click on transparent, and I no longer have a border. I could also, though, see, I'll do it with this circle or my almost circle, which I did pretty well. I can actually, up here, I can change the color of the outline, and I can also change the size. Ooh, I could almost make it target, huh? That's actually pretty good. Okay, so that's shapes. Lines, oh my goodness, there's so many different lines, and you just have to play with them. So I'm just going to show you really quickly. Here are lines. Let's say that I want to do the elbow connector. Again, it's going to be the upper left-hand corner. So I'm drawing my elbow connector. I want to show you a couple things. So you get special tools for lines. I can choose here how I want the line to start. So maybe I want it to be an open circle. And then I can click here for how I end the line. So I want it to be an arrow. So there you go. Same thing, right? If I want to make it a thicker arrow, I'm going to click on this right here, line weight, and I'll make it nice and thick, 12. Okay. You may have noticed that there's this weird little yellow rhombus here, right? Little yellow diamond. And if I move that, what that does is it moves where that center line is. I mean, we are getting fancy here, right? But there are so many different kinds of lines that you can add. And again, you just have to play with them to figure it out. Okay, that's lines. I talk about all this stuff here, and you just have fun with the lines. They're a blast. I'm not really going to talk about tables, and I'm going to tell you why. This is all the same stuff as in docs, all the same stuff. So I'm not really going to talk about this, but I talk about a few skills that you can use when you work with Google Slides, when you work with tables in Google Slides, because I want to move on to inserting videos. This is actually really cool. If you're teaching a class and you want to put a video in there for the kids to watch, and then follow it with a slide that maybe has some questions for them to think about, right? And I will show you this right now. But what you want to do is you want to remember that you can add videos only from YouTube or any videos that you have in your Google Drive. You can't add those videos from like the TED Talks website. I tried it, doesn't work. You have to get the video from YouTube. Yes, is this Google doing its googly self? Yes, it is, because Google owns YouTube. So I'm going to go ahead and go back into my examples. I'm going to leave that mess there for fun, and I'm going to add a blank slide. All right, I'm going to go ahead and add a video, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and find the video that I want to add. Here's a nice little trick. Did you know that if you're in the very top search bar, you type in YouTube, it comes up youtube.com usually automatically, and then you hit the tab key, it becomes a search for YouTube. So I have this video that I like to show, cat and mirror. It just cracks me up. So I'm going to find my video first. Oh, so slow. Everyone take a breath. I'm going to take a sip of water. This is one of the funniest videos I've ever watched. Dramatic cat and mirror. Okay, I'm going to click on it because I want to open it up. And I'm going to pause it for now. It's going to be loud. I'm going to click up here. This is the URL. So there are a couple different ways to get the URL. This is the fastest way. I'm just going to click up here in the box. It selects the entire URL. I'm going to copy it. I like to use my keyboard for copying. So Control C for copy. Now I have the URL. That's all I need. I'm going to go back to my slides. I go to Insert, Video. And I'm already over my time. I just realized that. But anyway, so I can either search. I don't suggest you use this. It's a pain. It's a real pain. But when it opens up its first search, I'm going to click on by URL because I already have the URL. Click on that. Now I'm going to Control V, paste it in. It gives me a little preview. Here's my cat. I'm going to click on select. There's the video. I can move it. Notice what happens to my cursor when I move it over. I can move it over. And there we go. Now, over on the right, a box opened up. It says video playback. So I can decide to go ahead and start the video later. Let's say it's a really long video and I really only want to show a part of it. I can start it later and end it earlier, right? I can change that right here. I can do start at and end at. That means that I have to know the times, right? That I want to start it and end it. This one, I'm just going to have the whole thing. And I can decide how are people going to see it. If it's a student who's going through this, do I want it to play when they click on it, or do I want it to play automatically, right? So I usually choose play on click. Now for students, you might want to do play automatically so that they know there's a video there. And I'm not going to mute the audio because that's part of the fun. So we're going to go ahead and play this. So I'm going to put it in present mode. I hope the sound works. We'll see.
Meow.
Right? That's a totally funny video. I'm sorry. I have watched that video over and over and over again. It's just the cat's face. It's like it sees itself. So that's how you add a video. Now, I mean, I can go ahead. You're probably wondering what is up with like all this, the black around it. Like I just want it to be the video. You can go ahead and try to crop it, but it kind of gets messy. So I personally would just leave it the way it is. Fine. I can make it bigger if I want. Right. But you have to remember that a lot of times these videos that people took on their phones like 10 years ago, they're not really good quality. So as you make them bigger, they're going to get less good. Let's just put it that way. All right. So that's video. I am so over my time. That's okay. Okay. All right. Okay. This is a big one. This is resizing and rotation of pictures, of images. And this is really important because this is another one of those things that makes me crazy and hurts my heart. So I'm going to go ahead and add another blank. And I'm going to go ahead and put in one of my Bitmojis real quick because I think it's a good example. Or you can put in, you know, a picture, whatever you want to do. Okay, so here's the Bitmoji. You can see where the borders are. This is a transparent, it does have a transparent background, but I want to show you something about resizing. Okay. So I tell people all the time, you know, I would not resize using these boxes on the side. All these boxes here are used to resize. Now I want to show you what happens when I use one of these side ones to resize, or one of the top or the bottom one. So I'm going to use the bottom one. And you're going to see the difference, but okay. Actually, I want it to be smaller. So I'm going to do this. What happened to my image? Right? Suddenly now I'm like this tall. So I want to keep what's called the aspect ratio. So I want to make sure that it kind of stays the same, but I want to resize it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo what I just did. How do I undo? I do Control Z, Control Z. Z is in zebra. Okay, so now I'm back. I like to use the boxes in the corners because you will keep your ratio. Okay, I'm going to go with the boxes in the corner. Now look, I can make it small. It's fine. Looks the same. I can make it bigger. It's fine. Totally looks the same, right? So just remember, use the arrows. On my slide, I actually show you, like with red arrows, I show the ones on the sides. Green arrows, I use the ones on the corner. Just remember, use the ones on the corner. I don't think I ever use these ones on the side unless I'm cropping. That's different. And then rotating. So watch what I can do here. So there's this round, you see the circle right up here? If I move my cursor over it, it becomes a crosshairs. If I click on it, I can drag it over. Okay, and I can put it at a tilt. Look at that, right? So that's rotating. So that's resizing and rotating very simply. Okay, there are a few other things that are really super important about working with all these shapes. One of the things is, I'm not really going through these slides because I have little videos of this, but I want to show you how to crop and mask something. So here's my shape, or here's my picture, and I want to crop it so that it doesn't say have fun. I want to get rid of the have fun at the top, or maybe I want to get rid of myself, whatever it is. Okay, I'm going to click on this. This is the crop image. It looks like this. Okay, I'm going to click on crop image. And now I got to be careful here. For cropping, I actually do use the sides. Okay, I'm looking for a darker black line, and here it is. And I have to be careful though, because I don't want it to be the single arrow. I want it to be the arrow that has 2 arrow ends. So I'm going to click on it and I'm going to drag it down. Now I can't really do it without cropping out some of my hair, but that's okay. I'll just do that. Okay. So now, did you notice what happened to the have fun? Now it's a little bit lighter. If I click enter on my keyboard, there's my new picture. Maybe I want to crop it so that it's a little closer to the hat. Want to crop it so it's a little closer to my hand. I click on it again. The have fun shows up again. I'm going to ignore that. Move this in. Move this in. Hit enter. There's my new picture. Right? I mean, it's simple cropping. It's pretty simple. Okay, now what I want to do though is I want to make this, I actually want to mask this shape, which means I don't want it to be a rectangle anymore. I want it to be an oval. Crop. I'm back up at my crop button, but there's a little arrow next to it that says mask image. I click on that. I'm going to go to shapes. This looks exactly like that shapes button. And and I'm going to click on the circle, which as we all know is also an oval. Click on the oval and it crops it to be an oval. Okay. And at this point too, I can reshape, I can resize, move this in. Now you see what it did to my picture though? Again, so at this point you need to use an arrow. Control Z, gonna use the arrow, drag it down. Okay. I can rotate it, enter. There we go. We have a whole new image, right? So there's a lot that you can do. Okay, the last thing I'm going to go over, I think, are there a couple things? Cropping and masking, resizing rotation. I did that already. Oh, other arranging skills. So if you click on that link when you're in the slide deck, there's a whole bunch of stuff there, but I do want to show you something that's super important to understand. Because this is what happens. People go, oh my gosh, where did it go? So hold on a minute. I'm going to move some things around here. I'm going to copy this green square and I'm going to put it right over here. Paste. Okay. This is a perfect example. I just pasted this in. What did it do? It blocked part of my picture. I want to be on the top. right? So let's say I've moved everything and this is exactly the way I want it to look, but I want for me to be at the top. So this is called order. And this is where that 3D thing comes in. So you kind of have to think about it. I can do one of two things. I can either right click on this square and move it to the back, or I can right click on the picture of me and move it to the front. So let me show you what happens. I'm going to click on the box. I'm going to do the square. Right click. I go to order and I choose send to back. And it sent it to the back. Right? And I can move this over. Right? Or I could have just moved this to the front. Doesn't really matter. But you have to kind of think, if you're going to layer things, you have to think about what's in back, what's in front. You might create something that might totally like cover other things, in which case you need to move things around, right? And then you can do order. That's a super important skill to be able to do. I'm leaving that slide deck the way it is with all the stuff in it. Okay, one more last thing, and this is sharing a presentation. So when you share a presentation, it's just like all that other stuff I was showing you, right? Viewing and all that other stuff. But I do want to show you something called present mode. So oftentimes, right, when we share things, and so I'm going to show you how this is shared with everyone in West Contra Costa. I click here. Hello, open up, please. Okay. So right now it says West Contra Costa Unified School District. Anyone in this group with this link can view it. Okay, great. So I'm going to copy the link because I want to show you what that means. So all of you have been given this link, sort of. I did a little trick. Pasting it in. Okay. I have actually, I haven't shared it with you yet. I got to go back and do it. Maybe Darcy did it, but here's the trick. What if I want to share it with you so all you see is the presentation mode, which is how I usually do this. I'm going to try to make this bigger. I don't know if I can. It's not going to let me. No. So I'm up in the URL. Now the URL looks like just a bunch of letters and numbers and blah, 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 blah. I'm looking for the word edit. When I get to the word edit, I'm going to select it. Okay. So anytime you select something and start typing, it just types over it, right? It gets rid of the original word, whatever is selected, and gives and puts in whatever you're typing. I'm going to type in the word present, Present. Okay. That's all I did. I changed the word edit in all those lines, and I'm going to press enter. Give it a second. It's rolling, 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 rolling. Boom. Now it's in present mode. And that's how I like to share things with people, because then they see them nice and big. Right? There you go. So that's the present trick.